All right, welcome back to Know the Northman. This is the episode that's on Fridays where I talk about the things that interest me. I think it's really important that if someone's going to be promulgating certain ideas, whether it be finances, family, marriage, whatever the case may be, I think it's important that that individual give the group he or she is trying to speak to a slight view into their life, what makes them tick, what they're interested in. That's what Friday's episodes are about. It's things that I'm interested in. I'm lovingly calling Friday's episode segments Get to Know the Northman. And all through February, what I'm going to be talking about, one of the things that I truly love, I've collected them over the years, is, you guessed it, comics. And today, the very first episode that I'm going to touch on is something that I think is a great topic of discussion. It's been talked about already, but I want to throw in my 2 cents as well. And that topic of discussion is why Thor loses to Superman. Why in a fight Thor loses to Superman. Now, real quick, I just want to set some parameters. I'm not talking about Rune King Thor. I'm not talking about Thor wielding the Odin Force. I'm not talking about Thor when he had 2 hammers fighting the god Butcher, or Thor with the Thor Force. I'm not doing that. It's regular, good old-fashioned Thor wielding Mjolnir. Concordantly, I'm not talking about Superman when he's got the last Green Lantern ring or dipped in the sun and his powers change, etc., etc. I'm talking about good old-fashioned Kal-El, last set of Krypton, good old-fashioned Thor, the Odin son, going head-to-head. 2 reasons why, in my opinion, on paper, Superman beats Thor 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10. There's 2 reasons. First and foremost, speed. Yes, Thor is fast. That is true. He, however, doesn't have super speed. We know this. His speed is not on par with that of the Flash or Quicksilver or the Sentry. And I'm bringing up the Sentry because the Sentry, like Hyperion, is Marvel's version of Superman. And we know, with basically evidence that's canon in comic book story arc, there was a moment where the Sentry was either possessed by Apocalypse or the Death Sentry. I don't really know the specifics of it. And I'm not talking about the Void Sentry, which is the current one where he's in red. He looks pretty cool. It's a great rendition, or a great version rather. But in that version of Sentry where he's like blue and he kind of resembles Apocalypse, he and Thor are going head to head. And at one point, the Sentry flies at Thor and grabs him and just basically is flying as fast as the Sentry can. And in the comic book, as the Sentry is flying Thor through galaxies and universes, the writing, the text said something along the lines of, it was at speeds that even gave this thunder god pause. So basically saying that it was really too fast for Thor to really keep up with or really even hold his own. That's canon evidence within Marvel. There's probably other ones too, that show us that Thor's speed, although fast, he can travel at great distances very quickly. He actually doesn't have super speed like Quicksilver and the Sentry. Again, we know the Sentry is Marvel's version of Superman. So we can then transition all over to DC, knowing that if Superman is one of the faster people in DC, with the speed being up around, not faster, but up around the Flashes and individuals like that, we know that Superman can outspeed, outrun, outmaneuver Thor every single time. He's just physically faster. And even though Thor is magical, which is one of Superman's weaknesses, I think Superman only has 3 weaknesses, actually, which is magic, kryptonite, and the red sun. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Even though Thor is magical, it's unlikely he could even get a strike on Superman. It's unlikely that he could even land a blow while Superman dodging Thor's attacks, landing his. And even though Thor and Superman, their strength and their durability is comparable, over time, Superman being able to land powerful blows and Thor being unable to, it's going to cause the thunder god to succumb. That right there is reason enough. But really the second one to me is really the cherry on the icing here. Cherry on the sundae, excuse me. Thor, unlike Superman, although they're both very durable, Thor does not have a healing factor. Thor can't really heal quickly. He's immune to all human diseases. His durability is extremely high, and he heals quickly because he is an Asgardian and he's a high-level Asgardian. But we know he doesn't have a healing factor. He can't regenerate limbs. The current version of Thor, I believe, his right arm is that of the Destroyer arm, because his arm was cut off by Malekith. They couldn't reattach it. He couldn't heal from it. Thor does not have the ability to heal on the fly or fast enough to where he could really heal from the damage that Superman could bring about in a timely manner to keep him in the fight long enough. Superman, however, does have the ability to heal very quickly. Now, it's important that we point out, I don't think Superman has a healing factor like Lobo or even the Flash per se, but I know that he can heal much faster than Thor. Virtually, as long as he has energy in his cells, he can come back to life. He can heal from almost any injury as long as it's not too severe. And in fact, I believe when he and Lobo went head-to-head, Lobo, whose strength is in the same realm as Superman, although I think Superman is still stronger, but Lobo's true healing factor was what made it to where they basically fought each other to a standstill, while simultaneously, I think Superman, who has a very high level of durability, he was healing from blows as Lobo was landing them too. Probably not to the speed of Lobo, but he was keeping up the pace. So the fact that Superman, who has a high level of durability, similar to Thor, plus any damage that Thor could do to him, even though Thor is magical and that is a weakness of Superman, most likely Superman's body, as long as he's in the vicinity of sunlight, he'll be able to heal the damage as it's coming in. Maybe not as fast as the Hulk or Lobo, but fast enough to where over time, even if Thor can land blows, Superman's going to nudge him out, because Thor doesn't have any healing factor like that. He doesn't have the ability to heal as fast as Superman. We know this. We've seen it in comic books time and time again, obviously, in their respective universes. That's why 9 times out of 10, in my humble opinion, I'd love to hear what you have to say, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, Superman is going to beat Thor based solely on speed and the ability to recover from damage much faster. Superman nudges Thor out. Having said that, if you agree with me, either 100% or even just half of the way, or maybe you just say, he's got a point, I don't know if I agree, I like Thor, but he's got a point. If you're anywhere in one of those camps, then you have to agree that Shazam beats Superman 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, for the exact same 2 reasons. Now, before I get started with that, let's set the parameters. Regular Superman, not the Superman wearing the last Green Lantern ring, not dipped in the sun Superman. Regular, good old-fashioned Superman. Regular, good old-fashioned Shazam, pre-New 52, but even in the New 52, his powers are the same, and in some ways they're actually more magnified. I'll touch on that here in a bit. I'm not even speaking about Superboy Prime, who's immune to magic and kryptonite, whose only weakness is the red sun. We're just talking about regular Superman, regular Shazam. We know that Shazam is faster than Superman. We actually have comic book evidence of that in canon. I believe it was around the time that Alex Ross was doing a lot of drawing for DC. I believe Alex Ross is the one that drew Kingdom Come. If you haven't seen or read, the Kingdom Come series, you should definitely do that. Kingdom Come is an amazing story arc. But there's a moment where the Flash, I believe it's Barry Allen, correct me if I'm wrong, is under some type of mind control, and he's just running. He can't stop running. He's just been running around the globe. This obviously causes problems. Superman is trying to catch him, and he can't. So Superman gets a hold of Shazam, and in that segment where they're basically flying to keep up with the Flash, Superman says, I can't catch him. I don't think any man could, but maybe a God could. I do believe that is what they say. If not verbatim, it's pretty close. Basically hinting at, I'm not as fast as Shazam, I'm not as fast as the Flash, but Shazam, you are. You have the speed of a god. And actually in that scene, Shazam speeds up as fast as he can, calls down the lightning, causes an explosion, which forces Barry, I believe it's Barry Allen, off of his feet. Superman catches them both. Billy Batson then turns back into Shazam. And then after that, it's funny, they actually fly the Flash to a buffet because he's burnt through all of his energy. He's almost withered to nothing. But in that moment right there, we have evidence that shows Superman saying, hey, I'm not fast enough, you are. if that's the case, as fast as Superman is, and he is very fast, he cannot keep up with Shazam, right? Shazam's faster. He's just going to be able to avoid more attacks by Superman as well as land more blows. Again, regular Superman, regular Shazam. No, not Shazam at the Rock of Eternity. Not Shazam with, I don't know anything that Shazam's ever been powered up above and beyond what he normally is. But he just can't, Superman can't keep up with him. Shazam is faster. Shazam's speed is a godlike speed. It is divine or supernatural, which is akin to the Flash's, which is the Speed Force, which is like a divine force. It's how it's been described in the comic books. Now people might say, well, the current Shazam or the Shazam before he left and Deanna, Wonder Woman's brother, now has all the power. It's kind of a weird situation, but the current Shazam isn't that way. That's true, but the Shazam in the New 52 in some ways is even more powerful than the Shazam I'm talking about, because there's a moment in the New 52 where Shazam and Cyborg are in the Justice Tower in space and they're bored, and Shazam just makes magically a ping pong table, 2 ping pong rackets, and a ping pong ball. I don't know of any moment predating the New 52 where Shazam's able to conjure magic that way. Possibly, I don't really know. I've never seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. But in that moment right there, even though in the New 52, in my opinion, they did dumb down Shazam, by allowing him to be able to manufacture things out of thin air, if the molecular structure of that ping pong table is not vastly inferior or vastly less complicated than kryptonite, there's no reason why he couldn't just make kryptonite and then throw it at Superman or just run it at him. So no matter how you slice it, I think Shazam's going to take it, number one, because of the speed. But number two, in the same way that Superman can last longer than Thor because his body's healing to whatever extent it is, as Thor's doing damage, if he even can, we know that Shazam actually has a healing factor. One of his powers is the stamina of Atlas. And I know we hear the word stamina and we think he can run forever. That's a part of it, but really what it is he can heal from any damage that is brought against him. So that means even if Superman could get his hands on Shazam, which I don't think he can, but even if he could, no damage that Superman could do, as long as he didn't have a magical item or spell that was on par with Shazam's magic, which is very high, being that his magic comes from gods and Solomon and through the funnel of the wizard at the Rock of Eternity, and he is one of the watchers or the guardians, like 5 or 6 people that are basically omnipotent. They're crazy powerful. If Superman doesn't have anything like that, any damage that he could do to Shazam, Shazam's just going to heal. We actually have comic book evidence of that as well. In predating the New 52, in one of the JLA series, at one point there was a ship flying to Earth that was, there was no crew on it. It was ran by this cybernetic organism or life form that had been, they found out later, it had been brutalized and treated poorly and just made to be violent. The image they gave it in like its electronic cybernetic form was like an attack dog. It's actually a great story arc. You should check it out. But at one point, all the flyers go to meet this spaceship, the ones that are durable enough to handle the vacuum of space as well as who can fly, and the ship starts attacking them. Well, the ship launches a missile, and one of the missiles actually hits Shazam. Instead of exploding, the missile's technology, somewhat futuristic or just different, the missile's technology, instead of exploding, it causes the material, item, person that the missile hits, it actually causes it to turn inside out. So instead of exploding, Shazam's face is now on the inside. His spine, organs, everything's on the outside. He's basically just a glob of flesh at this point. And it's kind of an intense moment because Shazam is kind of the unofficial equal to Superman, where he's a heavy hitter. He's one of their powerhouses they can count on to do some serious work if they need to. And here, one of their heavy hitters is taken out right away. Well, literally seconds after he's turned inside out, his body heals and he comes back to normal. And the writer of the comic book, very intelligently with great comedic timing, writes in where Shazam says, "Wow, don't get hit by that." I don't know if that's verbatim, but that's basically the gist. My point is, we have evidence right there where even if you can do damage to Shazam, because of his power, the stamina of Atlas, he's going to heal from that, on top of the fact that with the Stamina of Atlas, all of Shazam's powers, the Stamina of Atlas being one of them, they're all magnified by the power of Zeus. So all of his powers, speed of Hermes, strength of Hercules, stamina of Atlas, all that good stuff, it's all magnified to the nth degree by Zeus, which means that basically you have to be coming with a level of magic that's on par with the wizard and or on par with Zeus to even really do damage to him. And even then, he's just going to heal. It's just the way it is. If Superman was turned inside out, I don't know if he would die, but he would be in extreme pain. There's actually a great story arc where I think it's Batman versus the Justice League, or someone finds like Batman's files and then basically fights the Justice League as if they're Batman. But Batman develops this type of kryptonite where instead of hurting Superman or making him crazy, it causes his skin to disappear. So instead of the solar radiation being absorbed through his skin, it's hitting directly his organs, and it causes immense and dreadful pain to Superman. So even if Superman did get turned inside out, I think he'd probably still be alive, but I don't know if there's a way for him to heal back from it, right? Which is, you know, he has a similar like healing factor, but it's definitely not on the level of Shazam, whose healing factor, the stamina of Atlas, and speed of Hermes, is not only divine, but it's magnified to the nth degree by the power of Zeus. Again, basic Shazam, basic Superman, there's no way, in my opinion, that Superman can beat Shazam. Even if he can get a hold of him. Yes, I know in Injustice, Gods Among Us, the video game, you know, one of the endings is Superman, you know, lobotomizes Shazam. That wouldn't happen. Even if he could hurt Shazam, even if he could lobotomize Shazam, Shazam is going to heal from it. That's it. There's no way around it. Shazam, you can't, it was said at other times in the comic books that I think they were talking about like Shazam was speaking when he had like, you know, his brothers and sisters, the other people in his family that have powers, like you can't really hurt these bodies when they're in their magical form, which is why you have to turn Black Adam and Shazam back into Billy Batson or, you know, Black Adam's Egyptian Pharaoh character to even hurt him, right? So, again, it's for two simple reasons. Shazam beats Superman because he's faster, and if Superman can even get his hands on him and hurt him, Shazam's just gonna heal from it. It's just the way it is. There's no way around it. I've actually thought about it now. It's kind of hilarious that I thought about it the way that I have. But again, basic Shazam, basic Superman, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna go to Shazam. If you've liked the content that I put out here today, or you disagree or agree, go ahead and comment in the comment section. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I'm super pumped. Every Friday is the Get to Know the Northman segment. All through February, I'm doing comic books. Next Friday, I'm going to talk about my 3 favorite Marvel characters. I've talked about one. I love Thor. I'm going to talk about the other 2. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next time.